So I want to take a second and talk about pre-closing occupancy and post-closing occupancies. We get a lot of questions about these, and essentially the gist of what it is we're talking about is a pre-closing would be the buyer taking possession of a home prior to closing. Post-closing would be the seller continuing to occupy the home after closing. What I want to point out here, and I'm not approaching this from a legal perspective. I think there's a lot of attorneys who probably should have some say in this if you're getting into a situation like this. But anytime you have someone living in a home that you own, we're creating a landlord-tenant relationship. And all you've got to be aware of is that there could be some cause for concern there, right? So a pre-closing occupancy, that buyer is going to take possession and they have not yet closed. So approaching it from a personal standpoint, I would want to make sure I have very adequate escrow deposit in place, not just a deposit like you would have in a landlord-tenant relationship, but something substantial should something go wrong. Ultimately, maybe they don't close, and maybe they're not willing to leave, and maybe they've damaged the house. You know, what are those potential issues that we need to be aware of to be able to rectify if that were the case, right? So additionally, on the other side, post-closing, this seller's lived in the house for 20 years. What could go wrong if they live in there 1 or 2 more weeks? Well, the challenge is once you take ownership of that house, you own the property. So we need to make sure those understandings are very clear. If the roof begins to leak during that occupancy, they're just a tenant, right? It's your roof now. So make sure you're thinking through all the what ifs. Make sure you're consulting for legal counsel as well, because a landlord-tenant relationship, whether you state it that way or not, is actually what's coming to fruition. So just want you to be safe, really understand what you're getting into. So hopefully this helps clarify just a little bit about what that situation would bring.